Hey there, nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back another episode of the Golden Age. This is our series of Warhammer Fantasy Battle Reports for 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy, and this is battle report number 140. This is a 3,000 point battle that is fought between the Kiddo as well as myself. The Kiddo is bringing the Blackstone Crusade, which is her 3,000 point Bretonnian army, and I'm bringing the Lizards of Waaaghz, my 3,000 point Lizardmen army. So that being said, we're going to play some background music real quick. As the music is playing, we will show you photos of both armies as well as their army lists. If you want to see exactly what we're bringing for this one, you can pause and take a look at your own leisure, or you can check down the description box below for the army lists. So that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Crom, I've never prayed you before. I have no tongue for it. No one, not even you, will remember if we were good men or bad, why we fought or why we died. No. All that matters is that two stood against many. That's what's important. Balor pleases you, Crom. So grant me one request. Grant me revenge. And if you do not listen, then to hell with you.
Alright, so first of all, let's go and talk about deployment real quick. So down here in the bottom, of course, are my Charizards, which are 3 Pterodon riders with Fire Leech Bolas. Right next to them on the right-hand side are the Karma Chameleons, 24 Skinks with full command. They also have 3 Croxicore. They also got Poison Javelins as well. In that unit, I got 2 characters. The first one is Snarl. He is a level 1 Skink Priest with the Lore of Beasts. He's also got the Cube of Darkness, and I also got Slag, which is my other unit, level 1 Skink Priest with the Lore of Heavens, and he's got a Dispel Scroll. Right next to them on the right hand side, that unit is called the Guacamole Guards. It's a huge unit of 32 Temple Guard. They have full command as well as a standard discipline, and leading that unit as well is my General Kermit the Slan. He's also my Battle Standard Bearer. He's a level 4 Slan Mage Priest with the Channeling Staff as well as Harmonic Convergence as well as Focus of Mystery. Now right next on the right hand side, this is the Saurus. This is a huge unit of 40 Saurus Warriors with Musician and Standard Bearer. They also have Spears and Shields. And right next on the right hand side, that is Squirtle as well as a Totodile, which is a Troglodon, and the rider is equipped with a Divining Rod. On the right hand side of the Jurassic Joust, you have 10 Cold One riders, Musician as well as Standard Bearer. And finally on the right hand side is the big boy himself, Gatorade and Powerade. Gatorade is a Saurus Old Blow with great weapon. He's also got the Armor of Destiny as well as the Dawnstone, and he's running on Powerade, which is a Carnosaur with Blood Roar as well as Loping Stride. And that makes up my 3,000 point Lizardman army, the Lizards of Waaaghz. So moving on to the other side of the table for the Kiddo's army on the far left hand side, that is the Bowmen of Barded. So 20 peasant bowmen with longbows and defensive stakes. And right in front of them are 3 units of 5 yeomen, each equipped with crossbows and mounted. On the left hand side are the Riom Hussars with the red jackets. In the center, those guys are the Chasseurs de l'Arve, those are the guys with the blue jackets, and on the right-hand side, those guys are the Darney Rangers, who are equipped in the yellow jackets. Now, right next to them, of course, in the main battle line on the left, that is the Silver Squires, unit of 9 Knight Errants with full command as well as the Errantry banner. And right next on the right-hand side, that is the Pride of Lyonesse, which is a unit of 9 Knights of the Realm with full command. They also have a standard discipline, and leading that unit is a couple of characters. We have Warren, the Hermit of Shalom, which is a level 2 wizard, who's got the Dispel Scroll, the Terrifying Mask of E. They also have the Lord of the Lady, with Steed of the Lady, as well as Miss of Shalom. We also have Jeanne de Rais, which is the Marshal of Lyonesse. She is a level 2 Paladin. She's a Paladin. She's also got Virtue of Duty, as well as the War Banner, and she's also the Army's Battle Standard Bearer as well. And then right next to him is Lair of the Beast, which is a Knights Templar Crusader with an Ogre Blade. In the center here, we got 2 units of Knights, Questing Knights. The left one's called the Dawn Templars, which is a unit of 9 Questing Knights with full command, as well as a Banner of Swiftness. And right next to them is the Hedge Knights, another unit of 9 Questing Knights with full command, as well as a Banner of Eternal Flames. Over here on the right-hand side, which is probably the most terrifying unit of all, is the Blackstone Legion. You have 9 Grail Knights with full command as well as a Banner of Defense, and they have 2 characters leading that unit. The first one's the Army's General, Remi de Apion. She is a Bretonnian Lord. She's also got the Grail Virtue as well as Virtue of Heroism, as well as a Sword of Strife for 2-up attacks, as well as Siriene's Locket. And leading that unit as well as Quellcrist the Falconer, level 4 Lore of Life Wizard with the Staff of Sorcery. Their spells are Flesh to Stone, Throne of Vines, Regrowth, and Dwellers Below. And then finally, we have the Ravizan Guard, unit 24 men-at-arms with Musician Standard Bearer, and they're also armed with halberds. And that makes up the kiddos' 3,000 point Bretonnian army on this one. So now that we're done with deployment, we go directly to the top of turn number 1, and both the kiddo and myself roll for initiative to see which of us will be going first. Alright, so that takes us right to the top of turn number 1, and I get to go first on this one, so that's all kinds of awesome. As you can see, for the movement phase, I decided not to do any movement whatsoever. The reason why is because I'm playing Bretonnians, and the way these guys operate is they charge at you and they try to destroy you with close combat, so I'm going to try to delay that as long as possible, try to whittle down their numbers a little bit before they actually come after my guys. My plan is to countercharge and hopefully destroy them that way. However, on the left-hand side, though, I do march fly my Charizards directly on top over the Hussars. I do drop rocks, but unfortunately for me, though, my friend, the kiddo, just rolled out of the box for armor saves. I actually got 5 hits on these guys, and she armor saved 4 of them, only letting one of them get killed. So not enough to cause a panic check, and that's pretty much the most dynamic thing that took place during the move phase. So with the move phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. So that takes us directly to the magic phase. Unfortunately, my magic phase was pretty much lackluster. My opponent, the kiddo, just rolled out of the box for dispel rolls. So because that, not much really happened. I did try to cast Amber Spear, however, for Snarl. I did manage to put a wound directly onto Jean de Rais, the Marshal of Lyonesse. But unfortunately for me, though, only managed to put 1 wound on her. So she's halfway dead, which is kind of nice, but still pretty much a threat. At the same time, I did cast the Tempest over onto the Revazan Guard. Unfortunately, I've just flooded my rolls. It scattered 5 inches, so I only clipped 3 of those guys, and I failed to wound a single one of those guys, which is rough. However, there is a silver lining, though. I decided to forget Tempest and get Searing Doom instead for the Lord of Metal, because these guys are definitely heavily armored, and that's nothing but good for the future magic phases. And that pretty much makes it the magic phase. So the magic phase over with, there's no shooting because I have nothing in range at this point, and that takes us directly to the end of turn number 1. And the bottom of turn number 1, I'm sorry, and the top of the turn for the Bretonnians. Alright, so that takes us right to the bottom of turn number 1 for the Bretonnians, and this is taken after the move phase. As you can see, a lot of dynamic movement is taking place for the Bretonnians. So, over here on the left-hand side, as you can see, the Hussars, as well as the Chasseurs of Waaaghz, as well as the Bretonnian Rangers, have put themselves in a 3-way attack, heading directly towards my Karma Chameleons. I got a horrible feeling that I'll get shot to pieces of crossbows here in a second. At the same time, in the back, as you can see, the Bowman Barrettes do not move whatsoever because they have defensive stakes, and it looks like he's going to get ready to open fire with those directly into my Charizard, which is going to be absolutely terrifying. Meanwhile, here in the center, as you can see, all the knights pretty much move their normal movement allowance with the Silver Squires, as well as the Pride of Lyonesse, as well as the Dawn Templars and the Hedge Knights, getting themselves set in order to do some charges here later on. So it looks pretty brutal there. And meanwhile, over here on the right-hand side, this kind of clever little maneuvering took place. First of all, the kiddo actually marched up the Grail Knights of the Black Legion all the way up to the corner of this building, so that way she can make an avenue of approach for the Revazan Guard. The Revazan Guard then marched up forward from her deployment area to the left, so they pretty much kind of switched positions. The reason why she's doing that is because she's trying to set up a charge, it looks like, directly towards my main lines. I know that actually puts them within a good charge range for being hit by my Carnosaur, but at the same time, though, I'm not going to send my Carnosaur in, probably because that general has Heroic Killing Blow, and that's absolutely terrifying, so I really don't want to mess with that all too much. I'll probably send in something else to take care of those Blackstone Crusaders. But that pretty much makes it the move phase for the kiddo on this one, so with the move phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. So we skipped the magic phase because unfortunately for the kiddo, she just kind of failed her magic phase pretty spectacularly, unfortunately. She didn't really have any spells for a level 2 wizard that she wanted to cast, so she went to go cast her level 1 wizard and rolled Snake Eyes. So just like that, her magic phase got shut down pretty quickly, which is kind of sad too. At the same time though, with the shooting phase worked out pretty well for the kiddo. First of all, she activated the Bowmen of Barrettes. Those guys actually took aim with their longbows and fired them directly into my Charizards, killing one of them. Unfortunately, I failed my panic test, so my guys fled back 11 inches, and they're making their way directly to the edge of the battlefield. At the same time, the 3 units of yeomen, the Hussars, the Chasseurs of Waaaghz, as well as Bretonnian Rangers, take aim and open fire with their crossbows. Managed to kill 6 of my Skink Warriors from the Karma Chameleons as well, so that was quite painful. So, with the shooting phase over with, we skip the combat phase because no one's engaged in close combat, and we go directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Lizardmen. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Lizardmen, and this is after the movement phase. As you can see, once again, not much movement taking place for my army. And the reason why is because, like I said, I don't want to have to charge and actually miss my charges. There's actually plenty of distance between my main battle line as well as the kiddo, so I'm not going to risk it with some long-range charges. I'm going to leave that up to my opponent. Hopefully she'll fail her charges and kind of stumble right here in the midfield, in which case if that happens, I'm going to basically do some counter charges and engage her in close combat that way. She has a lot of knights armed with lances, so staying out of that +2 strength for lances for successful charges is going to be extremely important, so I'm going to try to do counter charges for the most part. The only real movement I did really is over here on the right-hand side with Gatorade and Powerade. Those two actually march up and kind of go behind this building as cover, so that way if the Grail Knights do decide to charge forward and fail, I can charge with a flank charge, maybe get them in the rear. Hopefully that's how it works out. Unfortunately though, I did lose my very first unit, which is the Charizards. They failed their panic test and they did not rally, and they fled off the edge of the table as well. So chalk up first blood to my opponent, the kiddo. So with the movement phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. Alright, so that takes us directly to the magic phase for the Lizardmen, and unfortunately for me, the magic phase is pretty much lackluster. I didn't get very many power dice. We rolled a 3 for the Winds of Magic, so the Winds of Magic are definitely blowing kind of weak in this one. So because of that, not much magic really took place. So because of that, I did try to cast Amber Spear, but that got dispelled pretty easily for my opponent. And I did try to do a boosted version of Searing Doom, but my opponent used one of her Dispel Scrolls in order to stop that from happening. So with the magic phase over, we go directly to the shooting phase. And I do have the Karma Chameleons take aim and fire with their javelins directly into the Darny Rangers. But unfortunately, the Darny Rangers armor save of 4 up was able to stop most of it, so I was able to plink off only one of them as well. So that pretty much makes up the magic as well as shooting phases, and since no one's engaged in close combat, we skip the combat phase and go directly to the bottom of turn number 2 rather, for the Bretonnians. So that takes directly to bottom turn number 2 for the Bretonnians, and this is after the movement phase. So for the most part, some dynamic movement has taken place. First of all, my opponent, the kiddo, decides to send in the Pride of Lyonesse. As you can see in this video, as you can see right here, they actually make a successful long-distance charge, smashing directly into my guacamole guards. So that part's kind of sad for me. Unfortunately for the kiddo, though, she failed a couple of charges. Her silver squires actually moved up 5 inches. Meanwhile, her Hedge Knights only move up 2 inches, but the Dawn Templars, though, do successfully crash directly into the source as well, which is actually kind of risky for her because these are pretty massive units, but at the same time, though, I guess it's to prevent me from actually doing any counter charges. Meanwhile, over here on the right-hand side, the Blackstone Legion actually does a successful charge directly into my Jurassic Jousters. And while that is occurring, of course, she also moves up the Ravizan Guard in order to protect the rear as well as the right-hand flank of the Black Legion as well. However, I'm not too worried about that because all I have to do is declare a charge with him directly, my Gatorade and Powerade directly into those peasants. Hopefully I can chase them away with the Blood Roar ability, and then I can redirect directly into the flank, but we'll see what happens when it comes to my movement phase as well. So as you can see here, a lot of dynamic movement taking place. With the move phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. So for the magic phase, unfortunately for the kiddo, the magic phase is pretty much lackluster as well. I was able to pretty much stop all of her spells from being cast. She was able to get one spell off though. That cast was Steed the Lady, which basically makes the Hedge Knights have movement 10 as well as Ethereal into the next magic phase. So to give those guys a little bit more of a boost in movement so that way they can make a successful charge. But everything else though I was able to pretty much dispel for the most part as well. So with the magic phase over, we go directly to the shooting phase, and between the Bowmen of Barits, which are these guys back here, as well as the Darny Rangers, the Riom Hussars, and the Chasseurs L'Arve, they're to pick off, I think, 6 more of my skinks, which is all kinds of horrible. So because of that, this unit is slowly getting whittled down. Luckily for me, though, I did pass my panic check because of Cold Blood as well as my Lead General's leadership, so no harm, no foul there. So with the magic as well as shooting phases over with, we go directly to close combat. Alright, so that takes directly to the combat phase. So first of all, the combat between the Blackstone Crusade as well as the Jurassic Jousters was entirely one-sided. The kiddo just brought the pain on this one. As you can see, they managed to kill 6 of my Jurassic Jousters, and in the end I was only able to kill 1 of theirs as well. It's kind of funny because her general actually killed 2 of these guys with Killing Blow right off the bat because she's got a heroic Killing Blow, so that part was all kinds of horrible. Needless to say, I lost combat. Unfortunately for me, though, I did fail my break test because I needed Snake Eyes in order to stay, and we'll talk about exactly how that resolved here in a little bit. Meanwhile, over here on the left-hand side, the fight between the Thesaurus as well as the questing knights from the Dawn Templars was completely one-sided. As you can see, they managed to kill 7 of my Thesaurus. I was able to do anything back against that unit either. Now, luckily for me, though, I do have more ranks than she does, so because I was steadfast, so I made my break test, no problem there. And meanwhile, the fight here between the Barded Lioness as well as my Guacamole guards was also completely one-sided as well. As you can see, she was able to kill 6 of my Guacamole guards, and I was only able to kill 1 of her knights as well. Luckily for me, though, I do pass my break test because I am steadfast. I have more ranks than her, so because I do roll off of my unmodified leadership. And that pretty much makes it the combat phase for this part. Alright, so that takes directly to the bottom of turn number 3 for the Lizardmen, and this photo is taken after the movement phase. So a couple things. First of all, in the previous round, like I said before, I did have to take a break test. Unfortunately, I failed my break test. I did have to flee, and the Blackstone Crusade Legion actually gave chase. Originally, my friend the kiddo did try to restrain, but unfortunately for this, she failed a restrain test, so she pursues my unit off the table. Meanwhile, for my movement phase, I decided to do some dynamic charging. The first thing I do, of course, I declare a charge with Gatorade and Powerade directly to the Revezan Guard. Unfortunately for the kiddo, the Revezan Guard failed its psychology test for terror. They fled back 8 inches, and I charged for it anyways, meaning to get 18 inches on that charge, so because I ran down the Revezan Guard and killed them all to a man. At the same time, I also declared a charge real quick with the Squirtle and the Totodile. Luckily for the kiddo, though, she did pass her psychology test, so because of that, my Troglodyte now is engaged in close combat with the Hedge Knights, keeping them away from supporting the Templars of the Dawn for my Thesaurus as well. Meanwhile, the Thesaurus as well as the Dawn Templars are still engaged in close combat. Same thing with the Guacamole Guards, still engaged in close combat with the Barded Lionesse. Meanwhile, over here on the left-hand side, I did declare a charge with my Skink Warriors because they're getting shot to pieces bit by bit. Unfortunately for me, the Darnie Rangers did escape and they fled as a result from that, and same thing with the Chasseurs of l'Arve, but because of no other options left, I decided to commit my charge anyways. Managed to catch them. They only fled back, I think, 6 inches. I was able to clip them and destroy that unit as well. Now, unfortunately, that does leave my left-hand flank open for these fighters, but for my Guacamole Guard. But luckily, though, the Rion Hussars only have 4 fighters, so they won't be able to disrupt them at all. The only thing I got to worry about, of course, is the Silver Squires charging in directly into my Guacamole Guards, but I'll deal with that when that problem arises. And that pretty much makes it the move phase for this turn. Alright, so unfortunately magic was a wash. I wasn't able to get off any of my spells at the same time, so we skipped that. At the same time, there's no shooting going on, so we go directly to close combat. So starting over here on the right-hand side between the Thesaurus as well as the Templars of the Dawn. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do anything to them, and they were able to kill 3 of my guys. But luckily for me, though, I'm steadfast because I do pass my leader break test, so no harm, no foul there. Meanwhile, over here on the top of the screen, as you can see over here, my Squirrel and Totodile versus the Hedge Knights was actually completely amazing. I was able to kill 4 of those questing knights. Unfortunately, they were able to put 2 wounds onto me, but the reason why that was the case is because they failed their fear roll. So because of that, that was actually quite nice. Even with the Standard Bearer reroll as well as their questing vows, they still failed their fear test. So because of they're still injured, and also luckily for the kiddo, though, she did pass her break test, so they're not going anywhere. Meanwhile, the close combat over here between the Barded Lionesse as well as my Guacamole Guard was amazing. I was able to kill 5 of the Knights of the Realm, so because of that, they're able to kill 2 of my guys. But when I combine my rank bonus and my combat resolution, I actually win this combat by 5. Unfortunately for the kiddo, she has to roll leadership 4. She failed both her tests, her original test as well as a reroll, so she does flee, and we'll talk about exactly how that combat resolves itself here in a second. Alright, unfortunately for the kiddo, she did have to break a course. She fled back 9 inches, but I pursued 12 inches. So you can see that I overran directly, smashing directly into the Silver Squires, engaging these guys in close combat as well. So that's going to be all kinds of awesome. So that being said, that pretty much ends turn number 3. So we go directly to the top of turn number 4 for the Bretonnians. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 4 for the Bretonnians, and this is after the move phase. As you can see, some dynamic moves have taken place. Real quick, the Riom Hussars as well as the Darnie Rangers have basically recollected themselves and put themselves in a perfect crossfire position to open fire with their crossbows directly into my Skinks. So because of the car coming into a hard time coming their way, especially since they're also in closer range now to the Bowmen of Baritz as well. Meanwhile, the Silver Squires as well as the Hedge Knights are still engaged in close combat with my Guacamole Guards as well as Squirrel and the Totodile. Same thing with the Templars of the Dawn, are still engaged in close combat with my Thesaurus as well. Now, the most difficult thing that actually popped up for me especially is that the Blackstone Crusade have returned back onto the tabletop after pursuing off my Jurassic Jousters, and that's really bad because now the back ranks of both Powerade and Gatorade as well as Totodile and Squirtle are now completely open to being charged by the Blackstone Crusade. So with the move phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. So unfortunately for the kiddo, Magic was actually all not that great. The biggest the biggest event that took place in the Magic phase is that she tried to cast Dwellers Below off directly onto my Guacamole guard. She rolled 6 dice on it and actually got a pretty high number without rolling a miscast, but I was able to put it out of commission with a Bispell Scroll, so because that never really happened there. Now during the shooting phase, unfortunately some more of my skinks from the Karma Chameleons ate it, being shot at by the Riom Hussars as well as the Darnay Rangers and the Bowman Barretts. And luckily for me though, I did pass my panic check because of Cold Blood, so that really helped out as well. So with the shooting phases and the magic phases over with, we go directly to the combat phase. Alright, so let's go and talk about the combat phase real quick. So the combat between the Thesaurus as well as the Templars of the Dawn was pretty much one-sided. I was able to kill finally one member of the Templar of the Dawn. However, the Templar of the Dawn was able to kill 4 of my Thesaurus, but luckily for me though, I'm steadfast because I have more ranks than my opponent, so I rolled on my modified leadership, so I'm still standing. Meanwhile, over here, the fight between Squirtle and the Total Dial versus the Hedge Knights ended up being a draw. I was able to kill 2 of those Knights real quick, so that part was kind of nice, but they were to put 2 wounds directly onto me as well. So because I only got 1 more wound left on that guy before he dies, so I got my work cut out for me. However, the piece de resistance for this round took place between the Guacamole Guards as well as the Silver Squires. The Silver Squires were able to kill 1 of my Guacamole Guardsmen, which is kind of sad, but in the end I was able to kill 5 of those guys. So when I combine my combat resolution for ranks as well as battle standard, I win this combat by a landslide. Unfortunately for the kiddo, she does not pass her break test, so she breaks. I pursue, and we'll talk about exactly what the aftermath looks like. Unfortunately for the kiddo though, when she fled with the Silver Squire, she did not flee far enough. I think she fled like 5 or 6 inches, and I charged forward 9 inches. So because I was able to overrun the Silver Squires and kill those guys to the last man as well. And that pretty much makes up the end of turn number 4 for the Bretonnians. So that being said, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 4 for the Lizardmen. Alright, so that takes us right to the bottom of turn number 4, and this is after the move phase. So a couple of things. First thing is I take the Karma Chameleons. I have them kind of rotate a little bit so that way they can bring their poison javelins to bear against the Darnay Rangers. At the same time, I do a swift reform real quick with the Guacamole Guards so that they can face off against the Hedge Knights in case they manage to kill Squirtle as well as a Total Dial during this combat phase. At the same time, I do a quick reform real quick, putting my Thesaurus into a column formation so that they have more ranks in order to make them a little more survivable against these against the Dawn Templars. At the same time, the last thing I do, of course, I do a quick reform real fast with Gatorade and Powerade so that way they can face off against the Blackstone Legion, and they're down there like they're in the bottom. And that pretty much makes the move phase for this one. So the move phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. Alright, so during the magic phase, I decided to cast the boosted version of Searing Doom. So as you can see there, I managed to cast that off, get 2d6 hits directly onto the Grail Knights. Managed to kill half that unit. Managed to kill 6 of those guys, which is all kinds of awesome. Unfortunately, to make that happen though, I miscast 7 on that, which means that every miniature within base contact of my wizard takes a strength 10 hit, and unfortunately I lost 8 of my Temple Guard doing so. So, kind of like a pretty rough one. I forgot that Grail Knights are immune to psychology, so because I don't have to test a panic, so that part was kind of rough as well. But, them's the breaks, at the same time ended my magic phase. Alright. So during the shooting phase, I did take aim with the Karma Chameleons, opening fire with their poison javelins directly into the Darnay Rangers, killing off the very last of those guys, so that part was all kinds of epic. And from there we go directly to the combat phase. So in the combat phase, over here with Squirtle and the Total Dial, I was able to finally finish off the very last of the Hedge Knights. So I got really lucky on that one, with 1 wound left directly onto Squirtle and the Total Dial. So I do a quick reform back to face the back rings of my enemy. At the same time, combat between the Templars of the Dawn as well as the Source was actually pretty good this time around. I was able to kill 2 of those guys, which is actually kind of nice, which is not bad for Source warriors armed only with spears. However, though, they already killed 3 of my guys, but since I have more ranks, I am basically got steadfast because I was able to roll unmodified. So because of that, pretty much destroys that. And based on what my little sister, the kiddo, saw was based on the table, she doesn't have very much left on the table. She knows she won't be able to reconstitute her losses, so she decides to surrender, bringing an end to this game and a victory for the Lizardmen. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go directly to the after action report because this battle report is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Sure, I could have stayed in the past. Could have even been king. But in my own way, I am king. Hail to the king, baby.
Now it's time for the After Action Report. This is the part of the battle report we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn for the next time that we do battle. This is the After Action Report for the Golden Age Warhammer Fantasy Battle Report number 140, and this one ended up being a victory for yours truly. In the end, I was able to score 1,714 victory points, while the kiddo was able to score 453 victory points. For the kiddo's losses, she lost Jean de Rais, the Marshal of Lyonesse, Laire the Beast, Warren the Hermit of Chalon, the Pride of Lyonesse, the Silver Squires, the Ravizan Guards, the Hedge Knights, the Darning Rangers, and the Chasseurs Alar. For my losses, I lost the Jurassic Jousters as well as the Charizards. So currently, the Lizards of Waaagh's current record is sitting at 10 victories as well as 3 losses, and there's only one more battle report left before this army has fought against all the armies in the studio's collection. This battle was grueling, pretty much a slow grinding battle all the way to the end. One of the problems that caused this, of course, was the winds of magic were not very strong in this battle, with the kiddo and I canceling each other's magic for most of the battle report. And at the same time, I was unable to negate a lot of the kiddo's killing power by countercharging our army. So an army full of lances with a 2-up strength, you can actually stop that cold if you manage to do a countercharge against a cavalry heavy army, and that's exactly what I did. My problem was I didn't have enough high strength to get past her armor, and that was one of the reasons why this battle took so long. The Lizards of Waaagh's army list is severely lacking in high strength attacks that get past Bretonnian armor, and I think that's one of the reasons why it was such a grueling, grinding fight. And pretty much the kiddo was pretty much rolling at 4+ to 3+ most of the time with our armor saves, plus you combine that the Blessing of the Lady with that 5-up and 6-up ward save made it almost impossible in order to take out large numbers of casualties for her forces. Now, luckily for me, my core fighting units are at large, sitting at 36+ miniatures for most of my regiments. This is for my skinks as well as my temple guard as well as for my thesaurus. So having those really large units really helped me to survive as long as they did, because it gave me static combat resolution, and it also gave me steadfast, which made my units rolling on their unmodified leaderships for most of them. So that really helped them to survive in this battle report. Now, the Blackstone Crusade, the actual Blackstone Legion itself, that Grail Knight unit, failing to restraint to overrun really helped me in that battle. Her general had that heroic killing blow virtue, and that killing blow virtue is no joke, and so I'm glad I didn't get a chance to have that land against any of my characters or my monsters. So that was really nice as well. Having them being gone for an entire turn, game changer on that one. Another huge interesting aspect of this battle report also was the questing knights. The Templars of the Dawn especially are an ultimate targeting unit in this game. With those great weapons and high armor saves, they held up my thesaurus unit of 40 Saurus warriors the entire game, so that tells you how tough those guys are. Not to mention the lance formation also really helps out Bretonnian armies. The reason why, because it limits the number of attacks that are going against them. When you combine that with their high armor save as well as their ward saves, they're going to last a little bit longer as well. In fact, in my opinion, that's one of the nice things about the Warhammer Armies project, because the rules that we used for our Bretonnian army came from the Warhammer's Army project. I thought was a very good book, and they did a lot of things that help out the Bretonnians in my opinion. So it's actually one of the really cool ones we actually used in this battle report. Still, even though it was a really grueling battle, it was an extremely fun battle to fight against the little sister, the kiddo, again. And as always, I always look forward to rematching against my siblings, because they're really awesome and I love playing against them in games of Warhammer. So that's good news, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is always appreciated. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news on this channel. That's good with this, you guys. We'll catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.